service, which was MI5. And we were able to do that because we had support from a number of tycoons in different countries who aimed at the collapse of the Soviet system. I hesitate to reveal who other people were, apart from Jimmy Goldsmith, who supported us. But I dare say, given the passage of the years, that Rupert Murdoch would not object to my mentioning his name.
We shall overcome, a kind of unofficial anthem of the world peace movement.
Goldsmith's main target was the World Peace Council, an innocuous and ineffectual organisation. But he was convinced that it was a sinister Soviet front. He spent millions of dollars on a series of deep, undercover operations to try and expose this.
We managed to infiltrate the whole setup in a way which took the communist organisers completely by surprise. For example, when the World Peace Council meeting started in Copenhagen, two of our members had a banner, a very broad banner, which they unfurled, and they walked towards the podium so that the people in the audience could see behind what was written on the banner. Welcome to the KGB's peace conference. And of course there was a lot of laughter and a lot of shouts of indignation on the part of the communists.
We can and shall save this world and save our children. Our children shall live, shall dance, shall play. All the children of the world, all the children of all the countries.
Obviously, when Jimmy Goldsmith and other supporters of ours heard about this, they were delighted. And they felt vindicated. They felt that they had been supporting the right organisation.
Goldsmith's belief that he was powerful was a fantasy. The men who really had the power were the bankers. They were using Goldsmith's bullying nature as a weapon to break down the corporations. But the bankers themselves were about to fall from grace, and Goldsmith would be left helpless and exposed. It began with a Wall Street dealer called Ivan Boesky. He had become one of the most important figures in the takeover movement. The moment he heard rumours of a takeover, Boesky bought millions of shares in the target company. The raiders needed them, and Boesky then sold them on for a vast profit. He constantly searched for the slightest clue to a takeover.
Information to Boesky was everything. He had immense computer intelligence network. He had paid spies everywhere. One of his operations was said, for example, to track the movements of all the corporate jets in America, airport to airport. There was, because each of these jets has a registration number, he would have people find out what the registration numbers, which corporations' registration numbers in all the major airports in the country for corporate jets were. And those movements would be tracked by somebody in Boesky's pay.
Boesky had also created a system of informants inside the Wall Street banks. He bribed bankers to tell him when a deal was being planned and then bought shares. It was called insider dealing, and it was illegal. But the bankers could make a fortune on the side. And by the end of 1986, Boesky had an intricate, corrupt network which included even the most powerful bank of all, Drexel Burnham.
Did you know that that sort of insider dealing was going on around these deals?
I knew it, yes. I mean, I knew it all the time. I formed the conclusion very shortly after I arrived in America, and we always acted on this basis, that in general, the American investment banking community was not immoral, it was amoral. Some of the people in the most highly respected places were doing this. And of course, where there is so much money to be made, everybody flourished. Everybody made money.
Did you and Goldsmith ever do anything corrupt?
No. Not consciously. Or unconsciously. Why did I qualify that? No, we didn't.
Then suddenly, in November 1986, Boesky was arrested. It was also revealed that he had done a deal with the authorities. In return for naming all the bankers he had bribed, he would receive a lighter sentence. the New York District Attorney revealed that the takeover movement was riddled with corruption.
As a result of his cooperation, we are examining things that we weren't examining before. And you know we wouldn't have been doing it without Mr. Boesky, because it was going on before and we weren't doing it. As a result of his cooperation, a substantial systemic problem in the financial community was revealed, and revealed in a way that moved us to try to make changes. Very suddenly, this whole other life of theirs is being revealed, very often for the first time to numerous colleagues, to their family, sometimes to their wives. That's a shattering experience. In fact, they're seen usually as very shrewd, very capable, very industrious, and yet there's this whole other side to their life in which they're cheating and lying and stealing, which they keep secret.
Boesky's arrest came as a shattering blow to James Goldsmith. He was in the middle of the biggest takeover yet attempted in America, for the tire company Goodyear. It had caused an outcry, and the revelations of corruption in the takeover movement gave politicians the chance to try and reassert control. Goldsmith was summoned to Congress to explain what he would do to Goodyear.
You're deciding how Goodyear ought to operate, and my question is, who the hell are you?
Mr. Siebling, I made it quite clear in this document, Mr. Siebling, that I was an active investor. And I'm happy to define what I consider to be the role of an active investor.
Well, I hope you'll make your response brief.
I will do it by this answer, and I hope it'll be clear to you. An active investor is not a manager. He is not a particularist. He's not a man who thinks that he can double-guess management. He's not a person who thinks that he can do the job of management better than the manager that he can hire.
But that's exactly what you're doing.
I'll tell you what. No, sir, it is not. What I'm saying is an active manager has to ensure that the right management has to be in place, number one. That the right management has to be properly motivated, number two. That the right manager, properly motivated, then runs the company according to a reasonable strategy and not trying to chase after all sorts of industries it knows nothing about. That is a job of an active manager, of an active investor. If he does not consider the management right, he fires it and replaces it.
Now, I presume that the purpose of your acquisition of this company was to end up with a profit for yourself. Isn't that really your interest?
I can think of no other reason for doing business. And I strongly recommend that the United States, which was built on that idea, remain on that idea.
But
it's very worthwhile. It's built
do you
a great
recognize,
nation, Congressman.
Let me ask you one other thing. Mr. Boesky owns 300,000 shares of Goodyear, which he acquired recently. Has he been in communication with you on this transaction?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Goldsmith's power was now waning. Under political pressure, he withdrew his bid for Goodyear. But the revelations of corruption started by Boesky kept growing. They now spread to Britain.
At Westminster, MPs have been debating insider trading, that is, using confidential information to make money on the stock market. The debate followed yesterday's announcement of an inquiry into the Guinness Company. It's thought one area of investigation will be the activities of the American financier Ivan Boesky. He's already been fined $100 million for insider dealing in American shares. Today, the Labour MP Robin Cook linked Mr. Boesky's activities with the recent takeover by Guinness of the Distillers Group.
He was particularly active in the Guinness bid for distillers. He built up a very large holding in distillers, which is rumoured to have reached the figure of $100 million, a figure which he assembled well in advance of the announcement of the bid.
As in America, the Guinness scandal exposed a network of illegal share dealing. But unlike America, only 4 men were convicted. Evidence of a much wider system of corruption was quietly buried. One of those charged in the Guinness affair was the banker Lord Spence.
Well, I was part of that. I mean, I felt rather as though one had put one's head above the parapet and had it shot off. The failure by people to stand up and be counted was stunning. The city retreated into a shell and started to go into denial mode and say, we never did this, we never have anything to do with any of these practices.
for the stock